Hey guys, welcome back, and we are here doing another faction overview guide for the Lord of the Rings Total War mod for Rome Remastered. It's been asked for quite a bit, and today we are covering Isengard. Um, and I'm very happy to say a lot of good things have changed with this campaign from when I first played it. This is from patch 1.0 now is where we're at, and they've made a lot of changes to it, and I'm really excited to talk about it with you guys. I haven't gone into too much depth in terms of my own campaign with it, just because I'm running out of time with catching up with all the updates with the mod and playing the factions. But I have experienced some new things that are really cool and really exciting to interact and engage with. And so, without further ado, let's just kind of jump into it. Again, as always, I'll split it up into four kind of sections. One will be the initial provinces, and then the army, your starting army that is, the economy of Isengard, and then lastly, some early tips on expansion and just kind of what I would recommend doing. So first things first, the initial provinces. It's kind of interesting playing as Isengard, because these three settlements here, the Fangorn Camp, Dol Baran, and Dun Kalash or Kalak. You actually didn't own these, I believe. Maybe you owned Fangorn Camp, but I know for sure you didn't own these two settlements over here. But those three settlements are actually settlements that you cannot develop. They're basically just like villages that you just can never develop. So for me personally, I always play with like the good versus evil kind of side of things. So basically what that means is that it keeps evil factions allied with allied factions and good with good kind of thing. So, my tactics may vary depending on if you don't play with that, because if you don't do that, my strategies may not work for you, because I would imagine the Dunlendings will attack you and whatnot, because my strategies involve pretty much abandoning these settlements actually. But I will go in to detail over that in the expansion, as well as some other tips and tricks that I would recommend doing. So really, your only settlement that you're, in my opinion, that you really only start out with is actually Isengard, because it's the only settlement that you can actually build stuff in. I have let them know about this mining image here, but this is your mines, even though it shows the Rome Total War like military barracks building. So Isengard does have a good amount of mines. You can get 450 gold per turn, and it costs you 4,000. So by 10 turns, you'll get your money back on investment, which isn't too bad, really, all things considered. But then, really, I mean, this is it. It's really defensible. It is a custom battle map, and it's what you would expect. It's the Orthanc Tower with the donut around it. So it does have the walls, which is really nice. It provides some public order and whatnot. But I mean, really, in terms of the buildings for it, it's up to you to get it going. It does give you the Isengard smithy, so you do have access to swordsmen and axemen, as well as spearmen, marauders, scouts, and orc raiders. But other than that, I mean, the economic buildings are there for you to build. So it's sort of like if you've looked at my Mordor campaigns in regards to Minas Morgul and the Black Gate building, where they don't really have much built there, but you do have really good defenses already built for you. So that's really what Isengard has going for them for their initial provinces. It's not much, just because Isengard is the only province that you start out with that you can actually build things in. So expansion is pretty important as Isengard, which we'll discuss later on, just because you need more settlements that can produce more things, because you need more than one settlement recruiting troops, but we'll cover that later on. The good thing is, moving into the army now, the good thing is you have a very large sized army to start with. You have, if I can click here, you got 5 units sitting here, you got 5 more sitting here, you got 4 there, you got essentially 9, because you can't take Saruman out of Isengard. So you have 9 settlements. You got 9 units there, 4 more up there, and then 6 more up here. So really, I mean, your army is it's not too bad for a starting army. I mean, you can house a full stack. However, going up against Rohan, their cavalry is so strong. Do not, under any circumstance, unless it's like 10 units to one of their units, do not auto resolve. You will lose even like throwing 20 units against these four here. Thaedred, and there is another cavalry unit in there. Thaedred and that cavalry unit will easily kill about 400 of your troops if you auto resolve. So highly recommend manually fighting a lot of your battles in general, but especially as Isengard early on, because you need your army. Even though Isengard can recruit, a good amount of troops right away, you're going to be going with a lot of spearmen because I mean your initial threat is going to be Rohan, and so you need spearmen to be that anti-cavalry. Which here, if we see the Uruk-hai spearmen have that bonus fighting cavalry, so you're really going to need a lot of spearmen and some archers and just kind of just wear them down really. Because they're going to be cycle charging on you a lot, and you need units that are going to be able to fight back against them. But all things considered, I mean, you got the initial army there that gives you the edge to give you that big push you kind of need to expand early on. So not too bad overall. Pretty good troops if we look at some of their troops, which I do have a unit guide out on Isengard that I will also tag at the end of this video. And they have made some changes to the Uruk-hai crossbowmen. They've given them armor piercing as well as a little more missile range. But for me, it's their attack, like their actual missile animation is really slow, and they need basically a perfect line of sight. So just something to keep in mind. Really, I still think I would go with just the basic Uruk-hai scouts over the crossbowmen, but I need to do more testing with it and just verify that and see if I still would agree with that. But moving to then economy, kind of like in any economy really, use this settlement income building. Click on the building, see how much it's gonna give you in terms of income bonus. A lot of it early on for a lot of factions. But some more than others, especially like Isengard, where you only have like one settlement that's really producing, your money and your recruitment. Find the economic building that's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. In other words, the quickest return on investment. So like, sure, I could do mines. I could get 450 from mining income. But it'll take, 10 turns to make my money back, for the 4,000 I spent. Where this building here, it cost me 800 and it's making me, a little over 200 a turn. So I'm going to get that money investment back in, less than like just over 4 turns. So going into your 4th turn, you're already getting your money back on that, and then it's just making you money essentially. So really, just when you only have one settlement that's making all of your money essentially to start with, really focus on the buildings that are going to make you the most money and make the biggest impact to your economy. The other thing too is to look for buildings like this one, the heavy Uruk spawning pit, that increases your population growth. More population growth means more people coming into your settlement, which means more taxes and ultimately affecting your bottom line. So really, for Isengard, get the Steward of the White Hand buildings. They increase public order, they increase your tax income bonus, and then the population growth. Get the population going, get the cheap economy buildings, and get that economy fixed, because you do start in a pretty big deficit. But I will show you a few tricks that you can do. Not really tricks, just strategies that I do to negate that a little bit. You do have a good sized treasury, so if you want to run that deficit, essentially you could do it for 19 turns if you don't build anything. But remember, you're gonna be recruiting, you're gonna be building things, and that 20,000 is really not gonna last you, the 10 turns or 9 turns, I guess it would be. So just keep an eye on that. It's one of the larger deficits, I believe, and for a faction in the mod right now. So just something to be aware of, and something that you do need to fix. So definitely would recommend getting your economy sorted first with Isengard rather than going full military, because again, you have the military to start, you don't have the economy. So fix the economy, and it'll just make things a lot easier for you later on. And now expansion. This is a very, very fun topic for me to talk about just because you have so many things going on. So you have your armies here, but then you also have two little armies over here based on the movies, basically, which I think is really, really cool. So you have this captain out here that's basically like the army that has captured Merry and Pippin and is like trying to run back to Isengard, basically. Even though it's units you start with, it takes you, if so the red is 1 turn, blue is 2, yellow is 3, so on and so on. So that's looking at 6 turns to get back here, and that's if you don't get attacked. So for in terms of early expansion, and since you have a bad economy, just get rid of them. They are crappy units to begin with. It's the lowest tier of infantry and missile units that you can get. It doesn't, 200 is 200 gold in terms of a deficit, so it does help. And then you do have Lurtz here, which his bodyguard unit is the Uruk Scouts, so it's not that great. And again, it's just costing you money. So, if good job, he wins a battle here. He's going to get ambushed again. Okay, he wins again. And just get rid of him. And that, between those two armies there, that saves you 500. The reason why, even though he is a general, his bodyguard is really terrible for a bodyguard unit. Mainly because the other bodyguard units, if I can find one here, they have the Dread Guards, which are they have 2 hit points, they're armor piercing, excellent morale, and their melee attack and defense is super high, as well as their defensive skill. So, and even to get him back, like, I know you guys may want to keep him just for the to kind of stay in tune with the movie and whatnot, just to have that character, because he's supposed to be a strong general and like the fiercest Uruk-hai. The problem is his army is so bad and his bodyguard unit is so bad. If I toggle the Fog of War here, Aylmer is going to be coming down to the west here, and he's got an army full of cavalry. You got to travel through all of this territory here to bring him back, and he's just not worth it, and the whole time he's going to be costing you money. So it's just not worth it in my opinion. And they also have Gandalf coming down here. Like, he's just going to run into so many headaches, and he's just not worth the pain. Because it's more likely than not he's going to get caught traversing Rohan here anyway, and he's going to get killed. Like, ultimately he's going to die. So it does you no good to pay him to die, basically. So the army start off here in Lurtz, attack him. He may, get lucky and kill a few of them. And if he does, great. If he doesn't, who cares? Just get rid of him. He's not worth it. And then other expansion, I typically bring just get this army consolidated. I'll untoggle the Fog of War and then toggle it again in terms of expansion ideas, but just so it's easier to focus here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So just bring these forces together and just have one giant force coming together. However, one thing is, if you notice, your population growth to start with is really small in Isengard, and you really don't have that much population. But one thing you can do, and that what I do, because I think it's worth it, is these Orc Raider, like this Orc Raider unit, and this Orc Raider unit, and then these Dunlin warriors. Send them all, except one here, because we do need one to stay in there just for public order reasons. We're going to send all of those, actually, to Isengard, and then disband them for population. And you'll see what I mean. Because one, they're costing us money, and in the grand scheme of things, we're never going to recruit these units. You have access to spearmen and just Uruk-hai units right from the get-go. You never need as Isengard to recruit the Dunlending Scouts or the Orc Raiders. It's just not worth it, in my opinion. You have vastly superior troops right from the get-go. It's just not worth it. And the only reason I would recommend ever recruiting those is if you're like in desperate need of an emergency of a quick army and just need massive amounts of force. But keep in mind, you can only recruit one unit at a time. So you can't put 5 in here and get 5 over the end turn. So the fact that it takes 1 turn to recruit these, or I could take the turn and recruit a unit of Uruk-hai spearmen. I mean, you're looking at 4 melee attack and 17 defense versus 2 and 4. So just bear that in mind. But I am going to go through the end turn just so you guys can actually see the expansion tip in its entirety. Just so it's a little easier to see, and that way I don't show you half of it. So we'll just go through the end turn here. And yeah, sure. Actually, I would say no to him because he's bad. Yes, this is the event that asks you if you want to play with the scripted alliances or not. I always do, just for the kind of lore of things, I guess. But alright, so here we're going to put that crap unit in there. We're going to put him in there. We'll put him in there. And then those 4 can also go in there. And then we'll attack here. This, for the record, this is what I would have done in my own campaign. But see, all of these units here, there's a little trick that we're gonna do here. Is in Rome Total War, if your recruitment takes it from the population. So if I recruit a unit here, you see it goes down by 202, and this same effect applies if you disband units. So you take these units, just get rid of them. It jumps your population up, to almost 4,000. That means that's about 2,000 more people essentially that are being taxed, and it's going to help your economy just in terms of less upkeep, and you're making more money through taxes. The reason why I recommend doing that, again, is because those units are complete garbage. They're not going to help you win battles against Isengard. They're just not going to, and that's the plain truth of it. Unless you want to bring some in, I mean, for the lulz, go for it. But I would recommend just getting rid of them. They're just not worth it, in my opinion. And then more expansion, because expansion for Isengard is very tricky. Because Rohan has quite a few settlements to start with, and Rohan is going to be your major, pain in the ass right from the get-go. And one thing I discovered is what I used to do is just basically snipe their major settlements just so they have to stop recruiting, right? But one thing they've done now, which is really, really freaking cool, it's kind of a spoiler, but I kind of want to let you guys know just because it is a strategy guide and I want to help you guys. Do not take Helm's Deep as early as you can. Pick off these little settlements here, mainly because the generals are in there that have really strong cavalry units. But also, when you attack Helm's Deep over the end turn, a script goes into play, like the movies when Eomer shows up to provide reinforcements, and so you'll attack Helm's Deep. Eomer, it's not technically Eomer, but it's like a full stack of Rohan cavalry that has experience and melee buffs added to them, kind of like how this guy here has like the shield for an upgraded defense basically. And then they also get 3 units of Galadrim Sentinels from like when the Lady Galadriel sends reinforcements to Helm's Deep as well. So even if you have 20 units and they only have 1 in here, they're going to have at least 4 between the general or a unit plus the 3 elven archers plus a full stack of Rohan cavalry sitting right on top of you. So I would highly recommend getting rid of some of these other settlements first and then having like a stack and a half at least to take Helm's Deep just to counter that scripted event. It caught me off guard. I didn't take the time to fight it manually, But if you do auto-resolve that fight, you will lose. I do play on hard, so depending on the difficulty, that may change. But for the most part, it just puts you in a really bad position because, it's just like the movies. You're attacking, you're drawn in, and then they charge down the hill, and then they squish you. So really tough fight, really cool, like scripted event. Don't get me wrong by any means. I think that's really cool how they added that in there. But in terms of early expansion, it can destroy your initial army. And they will, they have the economy. If once you start playing this game, you'll realize the more settlements you have, your economy just kind of grows exponentially, just because you're making so much from taxes. And so they're, on top of having, AI economy cheats, they're going to be able to just spam armies at you. So you really need your army, like your single army or maybe two armies, depending on how far you get into your expansion. You really need, your army to basically be able to win against two of theirs and manually fight them. Highly recommend manually fighting the battles to limit your losses. And if you need to come back and retrain your troops, do it. If you just keep pushing, eventually you're going to get stretched thin, and you might take Helm's Deep. You could win that battle and take a bunch of losses, and then you don't have the buildings here to retrain stuff, so you have to spend, if we look here, at least 3 turns to get back to Isengard, and at that time Rohan's going to be back here either killing your general or whatever forces you had there left, or they're just going to take back Helm's Deep anyway, and you're going to have essentially just wasted your initial large army that you did have. So with that being said, again, I recommend taking Ginnard here, take Beldwin and Westmarch here. I really it's just for the lack of headaches down the road. I've ignored them a few times in my campaigns, and then they end up building like an army out of here and then coming and attacking me. So it's just, take this, wipe them out, and then that way when you'll have enough time to take these settlements off of Rohan. And one, it'll help offset your income and actually put you into the positive, but you'll have enough time to then essentially like loop around and get back to the thick of the fighting here by the time Rohan sends an army at you. So, but yeah, that's really my early expansion. Just as Isengard, play defensive. You are a defensive faction. You have the army to play a defensive type battle where you have the spearmen. The pikemen are insanely good when you can get pikemen. Highly recommend getting pikemen. They are really, really strong, really good unit. And your Isengard's playstyle, in my opinion, is just like beating them down. Rohan is going to have a lot of cavalry coming at you again, and so you just need units that are going to hold the line and be anti-cavalry, and that's going to be your spearmen, especially your pikeman units, and then archers, where you're holding the line and they're just pelting the enemy cavalry. That way, by the time they get to them, they cycle charge a few times. They're constantly just being, hitting that anti-cavalry spear wall, and then on top of getting shot with archers, it just really makes for a good combination against Rohan here. But that is the Isengard faction overview. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, please leave a like and leave a comment down below if you enjoyed it, or if you think I missed anything. Feel free to let me know. Yeah, I'm excited for you guys to get your hands on it, so I can hear from you guys on what you experienced or tactics that you guys did. But I hope this guide anyway will kind of give you a little bit of an insight to Isengard, and it really is a fun campaign. Going up against Rohan, it's tough from the get-go, but I think you guys will enjoy it. I really enjoyed it, and so yeah, I'm just excited to see what you guys can do and share with me. So anyway, that's it. I'll wrap it up. I hope you guys again enjoyed it. Leave a like and comment down below as always, and until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Bye.